That's right, even though playing and teaching guitar is what I do for a living, I only have one guitar. 5 years ago, I decided to get rid of all of my other guitars and only keep this one. And in this video, I'm gonna tell you why I decided to do that, why it might be a good fit for you too, and talking about all the objections that people come to me with whenever they learn that I only own one guitar. First of all, I have to mention that it is not for money reasons, right? The guitar that I have is those guitars are very expensive, multiple thousands of dollars, and I have a lot of pedals that cost a lot. My looper, my Strymon pedal. So it's not about saving money, although it could be a very good reason to only have one guitar to save money, but it's about reducing decisions, reducing your options. I'm a firm believer when you want to practice and get better on guitar, when you want to write better songs as a songwriter, limiting your options is a really, really great move. Let's say you want to write a song and you can use every song structure, scale, music theory, techniques, instruments in the world. Most people in that situation, they are going to procrastinate. They're going to be paralyzed in front of the task because they don't know where to start. So the more you can reduce decisions, the better and the more productive you're gonna be. So instead of saying, which guitar am I going to choose today, and trying a few different ones, you only have the one, so you pick it up and you start working right away. If you've been a follower of my channel for a while, you've seen that old gray shirt multiple times. That's only what I wear. I have 7 times the same shirt, one for each day of the week, because I want to reduce decisions. I don't have to tell myself, what am I going to wear this morning or today? I don't have to choose. Same for my guitar. Some studies have shown that we make on average 35,000 micro decisions per day. Do I turn left or right? Do I take a bite of carrots or rice next on my plate? And so on, right? So at the end of the day, we are tired because we have decision fatigue. So if you can reduce decision fatigue, it's going to make you much more productive, also for your music. The best question to ask is, do I get value from every single one of my guitars? Do I play equally with them? Am I comfortable on each of them? Do they get a regular playing time for each of my guitars? The answer for most people is simply no. If you're being honest, you are using one guitar more than the other. There is something called Parito's Principle, or also known as the 80-20 rules. The 80-20 rule that states that 80% of the results come from 20% of the efforts, and vice versa. 20% of the results come from 80% of the efforts. So there's a big chance that if you have 5 guitars, there's probably one of them that you're playing with 80% of the time, and the remaining 4 only are being used 20% of the time. So why not get rid of the 4 others and just play 100% of the time with the one that you already love the most and you're already spending most of the time on? That was my reflection, and that is why I decided to get rid of all of my other guitars so that I could play even more with the guitar that I loved most. So now I'm gonna talk about all the objections that all the people come to me with whenever I tell them that I have just one guitar. And the first one is that I want a versatile rig, right? I cannot produce every single tone with just one guitar. That's why I need a Stratocaster, a Telecaster, a Les Paul, and many other types of guitar. And my answer to that is that nowadays it's very easy to craft many different kinds of tones just with one guitar. With the amp modelers and the multi-effects units and the pedals that we have nowadays and EQ controls and all the ways that we can modify the sounds, you could be very surprised at how versatile just one guitar can be. I only have single coils on this one, but with the right settings, I can make my Stratocaster sound very thick if I want. I did in multiple videos and multiple songs that I made on my channel, right? One thing that I love to do, and it applies to so much more than guitar and music, that's a great thing to apply to your life, is to transform the I can't statements into how questions. So instead of saying, I can't use my Stratocaster for that song because it can't produce that kind of tone that I need, instead, turn it into a how question. How could I use my Stratocaster to produce this tone? It doesn't mean that you're gonna find the answer right away, but it makes your brain function in a totally different way. Now, instead of saying that you can't, you're trying to find solutions. How could I do that? And you can apply that to so much more than just guitar playing, just in life in general. I can't afford this house. Instead, how could I afford this house? What would need to change for it to happen, right? I can't play that song on guitar. How could I play that song on guitar? What would I need to practice to change in the way that I practice my guitar so that I could progress in that direction so that I could finally play that song? If you have a guitar that you absolutely love and you keep searching for more, it's probably because you are a victim of the gear acquisition syndrome. You already have everything that you need, you love everything that you have, but you always crave for more. There are so many solutions that you can do with that. I don't want this video to be about the gear acquisition syndrome, but I made a whole playlist of several videos, and I'm gonna suggest one right here on how to get rid of the gear acquisition syndrome and focus on what you have instead. So when I'm looking to get a guitar, instead of choosing a guitar to have tone options, and have several guitars for several different kinds of tones, what I'm going to do, I'm going to focus on the comfort of the guitar, because you can always tweak the tone, try to find different tones with the same guitar, but the comfort can never be replicated. How comfortable the neck feels, how easy and natural it is to play on that guitar, that's what you're searching for when you buy a guitar. So it depends on so many things, right? Who you are, the kind of hands that you have. So in my case, I have like a baseball bat neck on my guitar because I have big hands and it feels natural to me. When people pick up my guitar and they try to play with it, they're like, whoa, what is that? It's too stiff for me, but it just makes sense for me. Whenever I pick up a guitar with a thin neck, I'm like, wow, I'm not used to that, right? So try to look for comfort more than tone. You can always work on your tone in multiple ways. Another objection that I get often is, what if you want to bring your guitar to the luthier for a setup, right? And to be honest, I'm certain that you are not playing your guitar 365 days a year. Sometimes we go on vacation, sometimes we take a break. Even in my case, sometimes I go on tour and I don't even play guitar on tour, I play keyboards. So there are multiple periods of times during a year where I'm not touching my guitar for several days. You just need to identify those and just bring your guitar to the luthier that time. Yes, you won't have a second guitar to play with while it's at the luthier, but if you chose the right time to bring it, then it's not gonna make a difference. You're gonna come back from vacation, go pick up your guitar, and you can start playing again right away. Other reasons why people say they need multiple guitars is because they want to play various styles of music. Oh, Antoine, I want to play rock and pop and jazz and metal and blues. I cannot simply have just one guitar, right? And my answer to that is, it's a great goal to want to be versatile and play different styles on guitar, but in my experience, if you want to work on too many things at the same time, and I alluded to that earlier in the video, you won't make progress because you are fragmenting your efforts in so many different directions, so you're not making progress. So you would be much better off working on a single style of music for a couple months, for a few months at a time. So you don't need right now to have multiple guitars to be able to replicate different kinds of tones. Because if you want to play jazz and metal and rock and blues, those are different conventions, different playing styles, different scales that you use, it's so much different that you might be better concentrating on one thing at a time. And for that, you don't need multiple guitars. And it's not even without mentioning that, like I said, you could work on your tone in so many ways to make your guitar sound just right for pretty much about any style of music. Don't use that as an excuse. Another objection that I hear is that I need backup guitars when I'm playing live. And that's a very valid reason, but most people who use that as an excuse, they are probably not playing live that often if they're really honest with themselves. First of all, you only need two guitars, right? The one you're gonna play with and the one that's gonna be the backup on stage, right? I'm not sure you're gonna break strings every single time on each song and you need 5 guitars as backups. If that's the case, you need to modify your playing techniques. You're playing too hard on the strings, right? I've seen artists live so many times. For example, I saw a show 5 years later and I say, oh, that's the same guitar again, and the same guitar as a backup on a stand on the side, right? So even artists that are touring, they're using the same guitar again and again. So why couldn't you, right? If you're playing live often, you only need 2 guitars, not 3, 4, or 5, or 8, or 10. Another objection is like, but what if I want to have an electric guitar and an acoustic guitar and a classical guitar, right? I don't want to play just one type of guitar. And you are totally right. There is a distinction to me. An acoustic guitar and a classical guitar, they are totally different instruments to me, right? They have different ways to output the sound, different mechanisms to output the sound, different playing techniques, right? So in my case, I own one electric guitar, one acoustic guitar, and one bass guitar. The bass guitar doesn't have the same role in a song, right? What I say is that when you want to have different flavors of guitar, right? When you say, I need a Stratocaster and a Telecaster and a Les Paul and so on, right? So they're all electric guitar. They're just different flavors of electric guitar. But an acoustic is totally different than an electric, and that's totally fine if you want to have one of each. Another reason why people want to have multiple guitars is they want to have several guitars with different tunings, right? They say, okay, so I want guitars prepared with standard tuning, and this one is in E flat, and this one is in dadgad, and this one is in open G, and such. So they need 5 to 7 guitars to have all the alternate tunings that they want. And my answer to that is it's very quick to tune a guitar. It takes 1 or 2 minutes. Is that really a great investment to invest multiple thousands of dollars just to have your tunings ready when you could do that in a couple minutes? And yes, your guitar might not be perfectly intonated for that specific tuning, but once again, I come back to the beginning. If you're striving for perfection, to get everything perfect, to keep all your options open, you are probably the type of person who ends up procrastinating and not progressing fast enough because you want everything to be perfect, you want to leave every option open, and most of the times it helps a lot to limit options. So it's the same thing with your guitars and your tunings. It doesn't need to be perfect all the time. And another reason why people justify having many guitars is that they want to have a collection of guitar. And personally, I don't get that. I don't get that. I'm the type of person who wants to declutter my life, my home, my mind, right? I don't like to have clutter, to have too many things lying around. But if you love to have your collection, to have your guitars, and it brings you joy and pride, and you love looking at them and talking about them, and you love all their shapes and colors and tones and such, and that's what makes you happy, then go for it. Keep your guitars. It's really not a problem. But if you're honest with yourself and you are collecting guitars and it's not really as a hobby of collecting guitars, it's just an excuse to postpone working on what you need to be working to be a better musician or songwriter, then that's the problem. So if you want to be a collector, I respect you, that's totally okay, that's a hobby like any other. But most people, they don't just want the gear and the guitars, they actually want to be musicians and play music. The truth is that you only need one guitar to be a guitarist. You are not more of a guitarist if you have multiple guitars versus just one. It's the same thing. You are as much of a dad if you have one child compared if you have 5 children, right? You are still a dad. It's the same thing for guitar. So my question to you is, what do you want to accomplish on guitar? What are your goals? What is your favorite music that you would want to learn and play on your guitar? What are the kinds of songs and music that's in your head that you would like to write and put out into the world, right? That is the right question. Do you want to be a collector, or do you want to be a player? If you want to be a player, then ask yourself, do I need to make a little cleanup in what I have? Do I use my guitars as an excuse to not make progress? Just to be distracted from what I need to be practicing, what I need to be working on right now? Do I focus too much on the gear while I should be focusing on having fun, on my passion for guitar, on what I would like to do? And if you'd like to clean up your studio and simplify what you have when it comes to your guitar and your gear, I suggest taking a look at my gear buying guide. It's the first link in the description box below. So in that guide, I'm giving you many free and low-priced options when it comes to many of the things that you need to create music like I do on my channel. Reverb, delay, volume pedal, looper, so that you can create music at home in a really simple way. In my years of experience making demos, I have found many great pedals and effects that are either free as plugins or really low costs that I can really suggest and recommend, and I list all of that in my gear guide, so you can get it. Once again, first link in the description box. And I would also like to know in the comments, how many guitars do you have? And what is the purpose of having so many guitars? Are you going to clean up a little bit, or is it okay for you to keep all of your guitars and then tell us why? I would love to know. So leave that in the comments, and I will see you very soon in a new video. Until next time, au revoir.